Let's talk about 13 places women want to be touched. We're talking about where and how to touch a woman to thrill her. Touch is exciting, right? It's magical. It's beautiful. And it's one of the main reasons we want a relationship, right? It helps you connect and makes falling and being in love fun and exhilarating. And because you're a good, respectable guy looking for a loyal, stunning woman, you must know how and where to touch a woman appropriately, right? The last thing you want is to be seen as creepy. But at the same time, if you don't touch her, it's difficult for attraction to grow. So it's something you want to treat very carefully. If you're looking for a happy, loving, lifelong relationship with a gentle, sweet woman, you must know how and where to touch her. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about this. You're about to discover the best places to touch women and how to touch them thrillingly. So if you're interested in learning how to do this, make sure you watch until the end. Before we dive in, welcome. My name is Stoicism Time Tested. As we get started with 13 places women want to be touched, 2 other videos will also help you. The 2 phases of touch that captivate women. All right, let's get started with 13 places women want to be touched. There are 2 phases in a relationship: how, where, and when you should touch a woman. The first phase is when you're not in a relationship with her. The second phase is when you are in a relationship with her. There's a dramatic difference between how you can and should touch a woman when you're not in a relationship versus when you are in a relationship. So you must understand both. Here's a critical reason you want to make sure you understand the difference between phase 1 and phase 2. If you try and touch her like you should when you're in a relationship before you're in a relationship, that's one of the fastest ways for her to think you're creepy and run away. It freaks her out because you're acting like there's an emotional closeness that's not there yet. So you want to avoid that. Now that you know this, let's start with phase 1. Are you ready? Sound good? Let's get started. 1. Her hands. The first place a woman wants to be touched is her hands. Now, if you're not in a relationship yet, don't hold her hand. That's best saved for when you're in a relationship, but you can still touch her hand. Maybe if you're handing her something, you can let your hands brush up against each other. Something like that. Touching her hand gives her butterflies and makes her think, "Oh, he touched me." And then she has to tell all her friends and celebrate for a week. It's legit. So if you're able to kind of let your hands touch, yeah, take advantage of that. 2. Her upper arm. The second place a woman wants to be touched by a man is her upper arm. There are plenty of opportunities where you can gently touch her upper arm. Maybe if you're being understanding, or if you give her a playful nudge, something like that. The upper arm is a non-threatening but still totally adorable place you can touch her. It's a great place to start when you're trying to cross the no-touch barrier and have her romantically notice you. 3. Her back. The next place a woman wants to be touched is her back. Now, where on her back should you touch her? And where should you not touch her? If you go up too high, she might think ultimate friend zone, and you don't want that. If you go too low, it's creepy. Don't do that. So instead, a great rule of thumb is to touch her around her shoulder blade or a little lower. That's pretty good. There's something so comforting about when a guy puts his arm or hand on a woman's back. Maybe if you're guiding her, leaning in to talk or something like that, that'll give her butterflies. It'll make her feel like you're sheltering and protective, and it's adorable. This is one of my favorite tips, to be perfectly honest. It's crazy powerful. 4. Sit close enough that you're touching each other. This next one isn't really a place to touch her. Instead, this is a tip, and that is to sit close to her. Again, if you're not in a relationship, don't put your arm around her. That's best for when you're in a relationship. You want to avoid being creepy, but sit next to her and touch when you're sitting next to her. She'll notice, even though she won't say anything about it. It's attractive, and it makes her think, "Oh, he's sitting next to me, maybe he likes me." So don't be afraid to sit close enough to each other that you touch. 5. Hug her, hopefully. This is obvious. But just in case, I wanted to make sure you know this. She wants you to hug her, okay? Even when you're in a relationship, there's something so sweet about a sincere hug. Everyone wants to be hugged, and there's a science about how good it makes you feel. So utilize it, okay? Don't be afraid to hug her. And this is something that you can do even when you're not in a relationship that creates closeness and shows interest. 6. Offer her your arm. My next tip for how to touch her and thrill her is when you offer her your arm. Not many people do this anymore, but they should because it's adorable. This is especially true if she's wearing high heels, or if the terrain is a little treacherous. Offering her your arm is attractive. And again, it shows that you're protective. It shows that you're masculine and confident and strong. And she gets to, feel your arm a little bit, which would be cool too. But don't think about that. Just offer her your arm because it's charming. Here's something I want you to remember. Being a gentleman is always romantic, especially because many people don't do it anymore. And so when you do this, you're the exception. You stand out when you're a gentleman. In my academy, when I'm guiding you through how to captivate the love of your life, I'm careful to point out that gentlemen are the most attractive men. That's the kind of man a woman wants to love. So the simple act of offering her your arm is really cute. How do you make a woman want you to touch her? Something else I want you to keep in mind is, yes, you must know how to touch her and where to touch her. That alone is a huge step. However, you must also discover how to get to the point where you even can touch her, right? You've got to know how to turn her head, create attraction, and make her want you to touch her. Otherwise, you'll just come across as creepy, and you don't want that. So how do you get to this point where she wants you to touch her? And how do you do this with the kind of woman you truly want? You must learn how to turn her head, talk to her, increase attraction, and pursue her. All of these things make her want you to touch her. Now, I know how overwhelming that can feel. There are a lot of variables, and there's massive room for error. This is especially true if you've failed in the past and felt embarrassment, rejection, and heartbreak. But don't worry, this is why I created my academy for you. Now you have a proven go-to place to discover how to find the sweet, gentle love of your life and make her fall deeply in love with you, so you can feel her soft kisses every night. 7. Her hair. Now let's talk about how and where to touch her when you are in a relationship. Now, I don't mean that you're married yet. This is for when you're dating. The first place to touch her when you're in a relationship is her hair. It's actually really cute when a guy plays with your hair. Or if you just kind of brush her hair, maybe tuck it out of her face or behind her ear. Those little things make her feel feminine and pretty. It makes her think, "Oh, he likes my hair." Plush, obviously, don't overdo it. And be sure to gauge how she reacts. Some women don't like their hair messed up, especially if they worked really hard to make it look good for the date with you. But overall, it's a very, very cute way to touch her. 8. Her face. The next place a woman wants you to touch her is her face. Now, of course, you can do this when you're kissing her. You could put your hand on her cheek. That's adorable. Just those little caresses on her face are totally swoon-worthy. They definitely thrill her. 9. Her waist. The next place you can touch a woman is her waist. For example, if you're standing next to her, put your hand on her waist. If you're hugging her, maybe you can put your arms around her waist. Or maybe when you're kissing her, you can put your hands on her waist. It's a very cute thing to her, and it makes her feel close to you. Again, it helps her feel feminine and see you as masculine. And anytime you make her feel feminine, she'll see you as more masculine. 10. Put your arm around her. The next thing you can do is put your arm around her. I know I said that when you put your hand on her back to not go too high. When you're putting your arm around her is the exception. In this case, it's definitely okay if it's her shoulders/upper back when you put your arm around her. This, again, is very sheltering. It kind of feels like a hug, and it's adorable. 11. Her knee. The next place a woman wants you to touch her if you're in a relationship is her knee. Let's say you're sitting next to each other, and you just kind of place your hand on her knee, like her kneecap. That's really cute. It reminds her that you're there, and it's adorable. It's crazy how simple these things can sound, but they're truly charming. Don't underestimate the power touch has to skyrocket attraction. 12. Her neck. The next place a woman wants to be touched is her neck. Now you don't want to grip her neck. That's creepy, but for instance, let's say maybe you're brushing her hair away and you rest your hand on her neck for a moment. Or let's say you're kissing her or something like that. There are really adorable ways you can touch her neck that, again, make her feel feminine and even more attracted to you. 13. Her mouth. And the next place that you can touch a woman might sound a little obvious, but hear me out. This is her mouth. Now yes, obviously, you can kiss her. And if you're in a relationship, you probably should kiss her. However, it doesn't have to be limited to just kissing her. We've all seen that part in the movie where she takes a bite out of food, a cupcake or something, and she gets a little bit on her mouth, and he gently brushes or cleans her mouth off. It's really cliché at this point. It's in tons of movies, but it's for a reason. It's because it's a cute way to break the touch barrier and make her feel close to you and more attracted to you. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. And if you've made it this far, drop a comment below with the word 2024, so I know you're still with me. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.